2, 1, here we are. Welcome everybody. This is Fernando Daguanno from Alquimétricos. I'm very happy to be here introducing you Carolina Portugal from Wikifactory and Delia Meillán from Fablab Cuenca. Thank you for being here. Welcome. I would like you to introduce yourself. Delia, you have your mic on, so we will give you starts.
Oh yeah. Hello, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm Delia Meillán, and I'm the Fablab manager of Fablab Cuenca. I started in digital fabrication and the world of Fablabs in 2012, since I was part of the original team in Fablab Nerd Center in Northern Ireland. I was living there several years, and after then in 2015 I decided to come back to Spain, where I am originally from Cuenca, and with my team we just set up and opened the first Fab Lab in our region, Fablab Cuenca. So that's in a brief, quick lines the trajectory I've been following within this world.
Cool. Yeah, I like very much Fablab Cuenca's story, and I really want to miss the opportunity to share some webinar with you, and we will explain that later because it's full of nice memories and possibilities. So thank you, Delia, for being here, and send a big hug to Mickael, who didn't make it today, but it's among us.
Thank you.
And Carolina, your Wikifactory's Community Development Manager. Tell us a bit about you and Wikifactory if you want.
Hi, thank you for having me. So my name is Carolina. I'm from Brazil originally, and I started with digital fabrication in my university. And little by little, I started to get to know Fablabs and all the network. And then I did Fab Academy in 2018 in Fablab Barcelona. And then on 2018, I also started work with Wikifactory. And right now I'm community manager, and I help communities as Alquimétricos and other really nice communities that to use the platform and have the best experience. So Wikifactory is a collaboration platform both for open source and closed source product development communities. And the aim is to give the right tools for your team or your community to develop a product. So I'm gonna really brief say a bit of things we have. So we have one of the tools we have is a documentation tool. So it's really important both for our team or for our community for you to share and to tell what is your project about, how to assemble, how to disassemble, how to use, how to test, how to make sure that everything is working. So we developed this markdown-based tool, but it's a bit more in this idea of a blog. So what you have, what you see is what you have. And then also we have the files part that is consistent on version control of files. So you never miss a file. Every time they will upload there, you always can go back. So maybe you did a change in the version you had in your computer that you didn't want to go back, but you save over it, so you always have the version control on Wikifactory. And also if someone is building the version 1 of your project and then suddenly you upload the version 2, but they're in the half of the print, so they still can get the version 1 and finish their product. And we also have the visualization tool because we understand this community has many softwares, and we like to be CAD agnostic. So we don't work with one. We have more than 30 formats for you and your community work together. So not necessarily you have to have the same software as me, and we still can visualize and understand whatever is the product about, how is that piece specifically comment about it, and so on. We also have the issue trackers that is a bit more for giving tasks and reporting bugs. So it's more the collaboration part where your team, your community is going to talk about that project. But we also understand that the product development communities, they are really, really social. So we have stories. It's like a blog post where you post about your events, your talks as we have now, your stories, so people can understand better your needs. And also we have collections, so people can like, I'm education, I'm gonna get all Alquimétricos and maybe auto projects and maybe other cool projects that I like because I'm working in education. Also you can have forums that you have more like a broad discussion about, yeah, maybe what your community needs, so not so much specific on the project itself, but more like broad. And I myself, I'm super passionate about open source and education since I started in the maker space, in the maker movement, is what I love it. And I love to support all these projects that is related. For me, in a certain way, all open source is somehow education because you can learn with it and you can take to a next level. So I think I love it, this idea. And in the Wikifactory, we love to support any open source community, or if you're wanting to do closed source, we also want to support you. So it's more or less in a quick time that what we do.
Cool, and you help a lot, I can say.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Wikifactory. Yeah, it's a wonderful tool. We the makers needed something more hardware oriented tool. We already had GitHub and other tools, but Wikifactory really has the best interface and proposal and a very personalized way of giving space.
We were super inspired on what GitHub did for the software development in general, and especially for the open software development. And it was a lot, but we saw it was not a tool for the hardware community. So that's how it started.
Yeah, sure. We really value what we can do inside of Wikifactory, and not only because of the platform and the technology, but because of how you the human part. I think that's the best part and something you don't find easily in other platforms, where it's all about bots and automating tasks, and if you are a developer, you can really find lots of support in Wikifactory, and that's why we choose it finally as our tool. And I would like Delia to tell us something about Fablab Cuenca, because I know a lot of Fablabs. I have been visiting a lot of them. I myself founder of an Argentinian makerspace, native makerspace, co-founder, and I'm not part of the board anymore, but my heart is with them, and I know how much work and effort and sacrifice means to have a Fablab running and a space like that running. So I would really like to allow Delia to tell their story, because I think it's very, very valuable.
Thank you very much, Fernando. Well, as I was talking about before in the introduction, Fablab Cuenca started in 2015 as we moved here to Spain, and we are a digital fabrication laboratory. We are mainly open to our local community in Cuenca, but we provide programs and service to all our region in Castilla-La Mancha. We also have some European programs. If you want, I can speak about it a little after, but mainly we are an open space for all the community to provide us many Fablabs, tools and knowledge. We have developed several programs as part of we are registered, of course, as part of the international Fablab network, and we share all the common values with them, specifically in our community, as we are quite a small city and a really rural region. We are mainly focused in education and digital or new technologies literacy. So we run we have developed several programs to fit the needs or the special needs normally we have in our local environment. So some of the programs we run, before the pandemic, we used to run periodically different courses and workshops with different aims. Most programs are articulate in many of the risk of exclusion groups. We have wide programs, like for example we run maker clubs for young people or even for adults. Everybody normally wants to participate, so after a while the parents were like, no, but we also want to learn how to do all these things in the space. We have set all the tools, machines for digital fabrication, as probably most of you know. We have the different stations like 3D printers, laser cutters, all the plotters for vinyl work. We also have small machines for CNC works, and mainly don't go to because I speak and I don't stop. It's been several programs we have run along these years, and right now we are more or less articulating everything through Mujeres Makers to bring more women and children's, female children's to the world, maker world, science, technology, all the STEAM approach that we normally work with the big A of arts include as well. So we have as well a program starting now called STEAM Teacher, in fact, because after the pandemic and even before, many teachers wanted to kind of start to use this type of methodology and the type of activities we provide inside the classroom. We also have other programs with new technologies focused in how to, it's like new technology and disability, to create special programs for create I don't know how to say it in English now, like different tools to make the life easier for everybody. And also we are developing now the Fablab mobile. In this way, after this year, we will start to go mobile to reach the rural areas in our region. So more or less, this is like the photography of all the different programs we have. Is really root with we are really close and really linked to community science people that never use a computer, and we just facilitate this for them. The entry level, we want it to be really low, and then everybody is learning and doing amazing things for their lives.
Cool, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I think something
double. Yeah.
I can see the transmission on. Is that okay?
Okay. You're hearing me well. So I was telling, I'm very glad I had the opportunity to be part of the Fablab Cuenca experience. I really I see the potential when something like this arrives to a place like Cuenca, which is very antique in some way, and in another way Fablab Cuenca helps a lot to open doors to the next century, and makes my it's a bridge, and I love bridges in technology. What we do, Alquimétricos, has a lot to do with that. So I would like to see if you hear me better with that microphone, or perhaps with this one. I don't know which one.
This one.
This one. Okay, perfect. So that allows me to tell a bit the story of Alquimétricos. Perhaps I can share my screen so you can see a bit of what we do, because I love speaking. Don't tell me that I speak a lot, but perhaps it's much better if I show it. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So Alquimétricos is a collection of toys, is an open source movement in which we develop affordable, very easy to access educational tools which experiment with different materials and sizes, and our principle is to build, perhaps using very simple tools, some materials like you see in the screen right now, and perhaps using very complex Fablab equipment, like laser cutters and all kind of digital fabrication tools. What we are focusing is to develop educational materials that are affordable, that are accessible, that you can use to learn about technology, architecture, engineering, robotics, physics, chemistry, biology, and arts. And we noticed that there are lots of products that make that allow that learning in the market. But I'm from Argentina. I live in Brazil, and it's very, very challenging for most families to be able to access those kind of products. Like they are not affordable for most of the population. We were researching the last days, and half of the population lives with less than $60 a month, and that's very difficult. It's very difficult for a family that makes that for a family that makes that average money a month for each family member to invest like $100 in a box of Legos or Kleenex or any of those marvelous products, but they are not affordable for the masses. So Alquimétricos developed a technique and a process and a family of products that are do-it-yourself, that are open source. Our documentation is online. You can check it out in our website. And we started with this movement 5 years ago. I started in Argentina, and then I moved to Brazil, and I started giving workshops and training teachers. We have already trained about 1,000 teachers in Brazil and Argentina and other countries we have been visiting, and we reach about 10,000 children and teenagers. And we are very focused on this little connector, which is a geodesic structure connector, and we have focused. We have focused on making it very diverse in the way we approach the engineering or the making process, because we are not only we don't only want to be the classic robotics or engineering class. We have been experimenting with other disciplines like dance and sculpture and kinetic sculpture, and we wanted we want to be a tool that is a bridge between low tech and high tech. Most of the families we work with doesn't have much money and doesn't have much access to technology, and it's very important for us to make things in a way that everybody can jump in, like lowering the barriers, and that it's related with production means, and it's related with application, and it's related with what you do and what you like. And sometimes technology is quite tough. Most people feel it's not for them. And you have in Cuenca a program for technology, women in technology, and you know how difficult for some women is to feel they are part of that movement, because they have been told a lot during the past years that technology wasn't for them, and in some way it has a male face, and it has a tough, it has many access barriers. So we have developed Alquimétricos in a way it can not only be used as a technology for technology, but it's also a mean to make other things. This video is from an event we participated in last year in Lisbon. It's Creative Commons Summit, and we were using Alquimétricos to prototype our networks and our commons networks, how we relate to each other, and how's our relationship with the commons and the common goods. And this could have been made with post-its, perhaps, but post-its are 2D resources, and they don't connect to each other in many ways, and we want to think with our hands. So it's a lot of different concepts we have been connecting one with the other. This is another system we make, the tensegrity structures. We use them in different scales and with different materials as an educational toy too. We think that hands-on is the best to do things, and you will be seeing in the following photos and videos how we use perhaps to make the same things. We use different resources. Some of them are digital, some of them are not. As I said, it's very difficult for many families to afford to have maker education. It's very tough to be able to access a Fablab, to know what a Fablab is. I'm really sure most of the families in Brazil don't know what a Fablab is. So it's difficult for them to appreciate what are the possibilities of entering a Fablab. And that's why we have tried to build a bridge between analog or crafting techniques and digital fabrication techniques, and once we try to make them dialogue one with the other. This previous piece we were cutting in the laser, and it was built before. This is the Tensegrity Kit 0, which is something you can make on your own laser cutter, and you can buy it from us or for any other maker that cut it. And it's a kit. You can make a tensegrity structure, different models of tensegrity structure out of it. And this was the result of the hacker residency in Sao Paulo, in the Pool Basement hacker residency. And it's another example of open source design applied to education. This is a case of an education application, the product, and we also mix these products with electronics. So we make little robots, and those robots are mainly meant to dance. Perhaps not as usual robots that are meant to build a crane or something, or a car or something like this. More perhaps practical or useful. We want to experiment with something that is more fun, like that is an opportunity to play with your parents, to have an experimental moment. And I think it's a lot of different things that are in some point that they are connected. That this is from last years in Fablab Lisbon. All these things I really feel they are connected. The education, the Fablabs, the tensegrity structures, the connectors. We are trying to allow a lot of people that doesn't have access to STEAM educational resources to access them in a financial, in a cultural, in a technological dimension, which we think in some way is restricted. We are sure of that. It is very restricted. So when we got to know Wikifactory, at the moment we knew we were getting to know a space in which we could not only publish our project or document our experience and share our blueprints with other community members, but also to ask for help, to ask for opinion, and to build like another dimension of community and process. So last year, what I'm showing right now is some of the Iberic tour we were part of. We went to Spain, Portugal, and Morocco for 3 months, and we made quite a journey, touching lots of points and getting to know lots of people. And I want to show some of the people that were key to make that roadshow possible. This is Alexander, and there you can see Delia, Mickael, and another guy from the Vulca movement. They are a bunch of people with a very interesting idea to connect all Fablabs in Europe. And they allow us to get to know Fablab Cuenca, and that's part of the story we wanted to share today. How this maker community is quite a key actor in what's happening right now with education in terms of we are going through a pandemic. We are going through a lockdown or quarantine situation. Perhaps in Europe it's a bit more flexible right now, but in Argentina we are still having lots of restrictions. And this year, remote learning has been the key to keep on studying and learning, and it has been very challenging for lots of teachers and parents to keep on with education during this time. And I'm talking too much. I would like to Delia to tell a bit of her experience with the distributed design and digital fabrication possibilities during this COVID situation we are living, because that connects a lot with what we are talking about, specifically in terms of education. So I want to stop sharing my screen for a minute and allow Delia to tell us the story of Fablab Cuenca this year.
Yeah, well, this year it was quite hard as for everybody else. Once all the sanitary crisis, all the pandemic started here in Spain, the 13th of March, all our programs that were mainly presential, I mean in the space programs, like everybody was coming to our Fablab, stop, everything just stopped, and from one day to another one we were organizing and working with all the community of the maker community we have here in our region to provide face shields, all the medical support and all the crisis for COVID protection, like the open doors. We had a small team of designers and Mickael was mainly coordinating that to work with the hospital in Cuenca to get ready just in case all the problem with the respiration mask. We had to, all the problem with the respirators, and we were ready just to get all the masks as everybody else in other regions and in other countries. You know, all the maker community. It was a really surprising or big effort of community and technological collaboration as well. We have some people here, most of them teachers, as the teacher community make a call for action to get all the teachers with access to a 3D printer to print mainly the face shields, and we were organizing all this part with Telegram and with all the online tools that yes we have now. Many people even bought the 3D printer and start to print and start to do all the workflow we had set. Finally, with the help of the public institutions, the local public institutions, we achieved here in Cuenca to mobilize a local factory that was able to make 40,000 face shields in a couple of weeks, because it was with a machine for extrusion, and that was a bit very briefly told all our way during the pandemic. We were working really hard, and Fablab Cuenca just become a point to produce and organize community as the link we normally are with all the institutions, all the companies, and everybody that work or collaborate with us. And now, as Fernando was talking about, and as all the international Fablab network and everybody, all the educational system is finding the new ways to make education online or just exploring these new ways. I think it's a really good moment for Alquimétricos, or just to the approach you use with Alquimétricos. I think is the perfect proof for these days we are living, because something I really love of the project and the way you have all the pack and the way of accessible, the way of access for all the people. From your templates, you can build all the different kits with the materials you have at home. I mean, you don't need a Fablab or high technology to really use it or build what you are proposing. If you are using it for math, if you are using it to make a giant dome, as we did in Cuenca, if you want, we can show the video we have from that days. it was a really good example of different paths maybe we can approach now that we cannot be all in the same space. We have problems with the ratios because not many people can be without with the distance we need to keep. The ratios is being really a problem. So from Fablab Cuenca, of course, we are doing some things, passing them to online, but our really key point was community getting together in our space and being able to manipulate, to touch, to do. So all these things now is like things we have to modify or just to find a new way. We are also developing some strategies with semi-presential, so we can create classes online, but also the people at home can manipulate or can design and send back things to the lab for us to process them with the machines and bring them back to them. It's like we are kind of articulating different strategies. So I don't know if maybe from Wikifactory you are already getting some activities or proposals with these means, but
so in our side, I think we kind of complement each other now, because our side is the online side. So as we, for example, just the COVID experience, now we had this trouble that the whole world was without like face shields, without masks and so on. And then we saw an online movement, sharing files, sharing documentation, sharing experience, telling what is best material, what is the worst, how you test, how you make sure that is clean, that is like proof, that is ready to go to a hospital, how you talk to a hospital. You saw this collaboration online, but then you see the people doing localized, because every local place, they have one need, they have one type of material, they have one kind of necessity. Maybe the same material that we find here in Spain is not the same material you would find in Brazil. So with this online help, you could like solve your own local problem. And I feel in these times that we're living now, face shields is not the problem anymore, but we're facing new problems. And everybody, the whole world is facing kind of the same problems. How the kids will go to school? Are they going to go to school? If they're not going to school, how are we going to teach them in home in a good way, in a like better than just what we did before the finishing semester last time, how we can use all the technologies or that we have, or even maybe what we can use that we have home to teach them to learn. And it can be developed from a guy, for example, in Brazil, in Argentina, and someone here in Cuenca can be doing without necessity of having the local, like physically being part. Like, so this is the beauty of the online and the open source, that even that you're not physically together, you still can work together, you still can develop and solve your problems locally. But globally, you think, you design, you think a solution, and locally you execute it to find your to solve your own needs. So that was amazing to see how it was like a wave of a few things. Like first was the ventilators, then it was the face shields, then like the new realities. How we gonna do schools? How we gonna do to go to restaurants? How we gonna do now? How we gonna think even further? Like how we can do like food productions? How we can do mobility? It's not a problem that is totally gone. Some places are a bit more gone, some places are still in the middle of the crisis. So it's really interesting to have the whole community, the whole global community thinking together and collaborating together. But then you see the local people actually acting. It was quite interesting to see. And I think that is the future. We have to think globally. We have to solve globally the issues and sharing the knowledge and not having to reinvent the wheel every time that we see a new problem. Probably someone already thought about something about it. Or someone already, at least a small idea from, maybe we could solve this way. So working together, it makes stronger. And then also in a moment that you go to your own reality, you have to adapt. So adapting to your own reality is also a big part of the open source. You adapt for your kids in your house with the parents. You have to use just material that is home. What do you do? How we can sew? What is the material they have home? What is the so it was really interesting, and I think that is how we should keep doing. It was in the end for a big necessity that we did in the COVID, but it's a culture that we should keep like nurturing, and it's something that it actually can change a lot of things if we work in this way.
Yeah, I think many people through all these events really got to understand or to get involved in the maker movement here in Spain. In Cuenca, we were organizing all the group, in coordination with the big group, national group in Spain called Coronavirus Makers. Probably you have heard about them, and it was like all a massive network of, I think we reached like 16,000 people, not only makers, scientists, teachers, doctors, every kind of field was there just to having the same aim, just to help and to develop this solution for the problem we were having. I think that was something really amazing. It was a pity that it was because of a bad, a really bad thing that happens, but yeah, the open source, I think through all this big massive movement, not only in Spain, in an international way, show us something really positive that could be used for other fields.
Yeah, I think also people got aware that the maker movement exists. Even my mom, when she was back in Brazil, she's like, I'm seeing the maker movement in TV.
Yeah.
Like it was something that it never was. In the like main like news of Brazil, it was like there, you know, like so. And also, I think like we have to think how to lower the barriers for people who are not part of maker movement. We have our own language, we have our own things. And for example, when I was working in the education back in Brazil, one of the big like problems we had was how to approach teachers. Because in a moment you go to a classroom and you show like a robot for a teacher, they're like, no, I don't know how to do this. They just block you. No, this is too much. I cannot do it. But in a moment you get a project that is already like with digital fabrication is as like Alquimétricos, but it's like in the moment you look, you need some scissors, some sticks, some other materials they are more used to. It can be the door for they starting to like, oh, so now I can do just with these materials, and the next step I can do maybe laser cuts, and the next step maybe I can do using 3D printing, and then the next step we put some motors with some Arduino, and suddenly they're doing the robots that they were so afraid in the beginning. So I think this also can lower the barriers. We need specialists as teachers. One of the biggest complaints that we hear from the project of the equation is how we can like bring the specialists, the teachers, the pedagogues. They are the ones who know how to teach, but they feel themselves like, no, I don't know anything about digital fabrication. I don't know anything about electronics, Arduino. I don't want to know about anything about these makers. But no, we can bring them together, and we saw now in the COVID, we brought doctors, we brought specialists, we brought many people who were not involved, never saw 3D printing in their life, giving and working together. So that is something we can also do in the education. We can bring like a bit more simple projects in the beginning so they don't feel so much, but then little by little adding with maybe now it's not handmade, it's a laser cut, now it's not totally like without electronics, now it has a motor, maybe a LED and so on, and little by little when you see they're making everything as another maker, you know. So that was really interesting to see, and I think it's something that we should keep
Yeah,
we
I
did in
think
COVID in the
the,
medical part, but we can bring to education. We can
that's
bring to agriculture. We can bring to many other topics.
yeah. I totally agree with you. That's the is the key point. And normally when we land here in Cuenca with a Fab Lab, was like as you said, people in some places doesn't even know what is a maker or what that means, even if you explain it. And that's the key point. It's like this danger line of people feeling scared and block. No, no, no. If you really know how to adapt, in my experience, is what we try to do all the time with all the different groups that we face. Is like, don't be scared, try it. It's easy. We are gonna make it easy because then you can go as complex as you want. But that's the key to reach the not danger line and just get people involved in it. And I think with the pandemic, with the COVID, this kind of happens because many of us is trying all the time to explain. We know what a maker is, we know what's the movement, the possibilities, but people normally, if it's not involved in all this world, I don't think it was really understood. But now with all the international movement, they have seen. It's like, okay, you can really solve a problem or save a life. So that really, this fact is like some moms here or some kids of females, like children, was calling me, telling me, no, my children, my daughter now wants to be a scientist. She wants to be an engineer. I was super proud when they were telling me this. Like, as you said, they saw it in TV. They really understood the practical means of knowledge, or how to use new technology for this type of things. So that was a big highlight for us.
Yeah, I think that's the actual point. How during the pandemic, the big stars were the medics. We are sure of that. The medical community, the scientist community was the big, the one who was in the front line, the one who was most exposed and who had to make the big effort. But I think that if we zoom out a bit, we have been we have sightseeing. We have been sightseeing an amazing response from the maker movement in this COVID scenario. I think that what Delia is telling about her experience is way too humble and doesn't show not even a little percent of what they actually did. Like 2 or 3 people inside of Fablab Cuenca, how many connections, how many work hours they invested in allowing Cuenca's community to engage in delivering a lot of solutions. And it's not only how many hours they spent. It's about how their knowledge, their technological management, community knowledge and experience did a big difference in how Cuencas articulated to support the medical community and to allow basically a lot of people to stay alive. And that's very like mind-blowing for me. And I have seen, we are part of the maker movement, so we are receiving and decoding lots of signs and information that perhaps just us we are available to evaluate, to understand what's actually happening. But as a 10 or 15 years old member of the maker movement, I have seen I have seen a lot of new things happening in the last 6 months that weren't happening in the past 10 years. So it's very important to see the potential, to understand how things that were difficult for the government were easy for the maker movement, how platforms like Wikifactory allow a lot of people that don't know each other, that are from different backgrounds, ages, genders, and perhaps religions or things like that, all over the world, can connect to each other to help in a common direction. And that's, again, mind-blowing. Perhaps for us it's a bit more natural. We already knew it was possible. We are a bit more used to Zoom, and we are like a bit more 2.0, and we connect with each other more usually, and we are like used to video conferencing with people around the world. But the mainstream, the regular human being is not. His reality changed much more than ours in the past 6 months, but perhaps in the past 10 years. So now it's evident to the rest of the world how the maker movement is a key actor in the development of local solutions and in articulating government, universities, science, production, education, and my project Alquimétricos has to do with education, and and enabling educational resources, key educational resources that are more and more needed in a 21st century perspective, in which we not only need to know how to read and to sum, but we need to code, we need to create, we need to handle some kind of special machines, and we need to know how to do things that an algorithm or a bot will make easily, just to have a job, because if not, we will be replaced soon. So there's a situation in which we need to be more and more, our literacy level needs to be more and more complex. Our layers of skills are more and more demanding and complex and difficult to connect one with each other. And we are a lot of people in the world, and governments are investing each year less proportionally in public education. So that's especially difficult in the global south, in places like Brazil, like Argentina, like Africa. How do we tackle the fact that we are asking more and more to the population in terms of literacy, and how we are delivering each year less resources? So our proposal has to be with has to do with this allowing this maker movement possibilities, this Fablab ecosystem, these platforms like Wikifactory that allow us to connect one with each other and design together, propose together solutions that we can get to the government, we can fetch to schools, we can connect things one with the other, because that's our natural ecosystem. That's what we do. We connect things with each other, and we make connections. These are connectors, you know. Like it's very, in our case, it's quite graphical, and we like it that way because it's an excuse to talk about connections. And you were talking about like digital fabrication and crafting tools. This is my laser cutter. I haven't been able to touch a laser cutter in the past 6 months, and this is my laser cutter, and this is how I teach my Alquimétricos community, the teachers I work with, the parents I work with, the public educational policies reference I talked to, I said, this is my laser cutter during quarantine. This costs like €3. This is affordable for you. Let's start here, and eventually the laser cutter will come, as we were saying. That's enabling, right? Like that's putting a step after the other. So we wanted to help with that. So we created a platform. Maybe I can show just a little bit. Alquimétricos launched recently a campaign called Toys for Quarantine. That it's basically a tool, an online platform to allow parents and teachers to access these educational resources. In this Toys for Quarantine, mainly we are crowdfunding our educational resources, platform and content, so everybody can access the materials. What we are doing is completely free. People that can and want to contribute, they help us develop this platform and show in the next minute. We are with this crowdfunding. We are trying to fundraise some resources. It can be money. It can be physical donations. Perhaps somebody has a camera or a computer or tools that help us develop this online site, which is full of tutorials, guidelines, instructions, blueprints, and a space to share what each of us is creating based on Alquimétricos technology and proposal. So Toys for Quarantine has been, during the past 2 months, a space where we can get together and share our experiences. Some people share, they cannot donate money, but they are teachers or designers or perhaps people that speak 2 or more languages and can help translating a guideline, a teacher's guide or a project, so it's available in French or in like Arabic or Russian or Chinese or everything. So all our contents are completely open source. We use Creative Commons licensing model, which help us like to be clear that we want this to be free and to be open. Even our brand is open. People can use Alquimétricos branding if they found it useful to like sell products or workshops and be part of our community and help with the development of the project. So this is what we have been doing in the past 2 months. This video shows images from our crowdfunding campaign with video, which shows experiences from the past 5 years, and you have a lot of rewards from, like you can donate your a bit of money and help us develop some new resources. You can get a kit home if you want to, or a kit of tools. We have been partnering with different Fablabs in the world to be able to produce locally, no need to export overseas this product. So we try to keep the lower carbon print possible, and use materials that are recyclable or are recycled. We usually teach how to do Alquimétricos using recycled materials, so anybody can do it at home with the things they have. And we have already launched a prototype version of the educational resources we are talking about. This Alquimétricos 101 course is an introduction to what you need to know, what you need to use to build your own building block system, create your building block system at home using very simple tools and materials. There are some alternatives in case you don't have one of them. We provide the templates, we provide the instructions. You can also find videos showing the step-by-step process, how to make your own Alquimétricos templates and use your templates to create more connectors. And the thing is that as the project, as you can build your own connectors, they don't, you never run out of them. You can make virtually infinite connectors. So it's quite interesting how the relationship with your kit varies when you can have a virtually unlimited amount of pieces, and how you can perhaps make your friends present at home and invite him to be part of this process. And in our site we also share the possibility for people to like upload their own projects and post it. So we build community, allowing people to create their own projects and share it with the others, or share the processes and the results. And we are very happy we have been able to develop this kind of content. It was, as Delia said, like this difficult context of the pandemic bring a lot of troubles, and it also bring a lot of possibilities to many of us that needed to keep delivering solutions, and we found other ways, and we saw ourselves like transposing our possibilities and our resources to keep doing what we do. And I think we are reaching quite an end. It's been an hour yet, but I think it's clear that the maker movement, the open movement, should shake hands in regarding education and regarding this kind of like material things that are key, like to develop those skills we were talking about, how to tackle 21st century challenges without the correct tools is quite impossible. You know, we need to be in order to learn something, you have to do something, and you cannot learn engineering or architecture or even coding just looking at the screen. You know, you have to do other things. Kids need to move, and kids needs to play. Kids needs to do things with their hands, to exercise, to develop force and precision, and we think we came up with a quite an interesting solution in terms of how to lower the barriers to help developing that kind of skills. Our contents are online for free. You can access our website, and you can access them. And I suggest everybody to take a visit to Wikifactory website. I think it's a wonderful platform to make all these things we were talking about possible. I invite everybody to visit Fablab Cuenca's website, because they are a wonderful community, mind-blowing reference of the maker movement, and much more than that. I think that they are like educators, and they are artists, and they are like I think I look at them like community developers, and not only like online community developers. I see how Cuenca's community is developing in many ways, and how technology development in Cuenca is not the same since they landed there with their space, and things will become much bigger now that they have their mobile maker space. So I'm very happy that they are doing that, because it's a dream for me to have my mobile maker space too. So they are Cuenca is privileged to have them there, and they have invested a lot of their own time and effort, and they have made a lot of sacrifices to allow that community to have those opportunities, and Cuenca children's future have changed for good since they landed. So I want to thank Carolina and Delia, because they helped a lot since we met. We have felt a lot of backing from you, and project is not the same. Alquimétricos is not the same since you are with us. So you are very important members of our community, and this is one of the most satisfying aspects of our project, that we have friends in Spain, we have friends from Brazil, we have friends from Morocco, from England, and I'm very happy to be part of this maker community, and that apart from the technology and another, like, a part of the education, we are building this social network, this social infrastructure, that is finally the most important thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you for inviting us and to share your project with all of us. It's an amazing project, you know.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the time. Thank you for being part of the Wikifactory community also. We love your project, and we love to support all the Fablab community and all the Alquimétricos community. So thank you for everything.
So everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. The link is there. The webinar is recorded. You can watch it anytime and share it with your friends. You can access our crowdfunding site too, at the goteo.org site. We will put our link in the webinar too, and also Wikifactories and Fablab Cuenca. So thank you everybody. Nice to see you as always, and see you next time.
Bye. Do I have to stop to share the